The Eternal Fall by Jojo Northwood. Chapter 5. The Betrayal of the Gods. A Divine Sentence. Seriphus stood before the celestial tribunal, his wings bound in golden chains, his divine power suppressed by the will of the gods. He had known this moment would come. Before him the gods loomed like pillars of light, their faces indistinct, their voices weaving through the air like a storm. "You have defied us, Seriphus." The words vibrated through his very soul. "You lay with the mortal woman, knowing it was forbidden. You have disrupted the balance." Seriphus did not bow, did not flinch. He had no regrets. "I love her," he said, his voice unwavering. A collective hush fell over the tribunal. It was the kind of silence that precedes ruin. Then the eldest god spoke, his voice vast as the cosmos. "Then you will suffer." A searing pain tore through Seriphus, his wings burning from the inside out. He gritted his teeth, refusing to scream, even as white-hot agony consumed him. His celestial form was unraveling. He was falling. The conqueror's wrath. Althea stood frozen in her chamber as King Vaelian traced his fingers along her jaw. His touch was gentle, but she knew the man beneath the mask. Vaelian was not a man who shared. "You have been distracted, my love," he murmured, his voice silk over steel. "I wonder why." She forced herself to remain still. "My father's affairs have occupied me." Vaelian's grip tightened. "Your father's affairs, or another's." Her breath caught. He knew. She could see it in his eyes, the rage barely restrained, the suspicion coiling around him like a beast. Then the doors burst open. A guard entered, his expression grim. "My king! The gods!" A roar of thunder shook the palace. Vaelian's eyes snapped toward the window, where the sky had turned black, the twin moons swallowed by storm clouds. His gaze flicked back to Althea, narrowing. "You will stay here," he ordered, his voice sharp as a blade. "Do not move." And then he was gone, his cloak whipping behind him as he stormed from the chamber. Althea exhaled shakily, pressing a hand to her chest. Something was happening, and deep inside, she knew it had to do with Seriphus. The fall of an angel. Seriphus crashed into the sands outside Atlantis, his body breaking upon impact. Pain like nothing he had ever known consumed him. His wings, gone, his power ripped away. He was mortal now. The storm raged overhead, divine fury crackling through the heavens. The gods had not just cast him down, they had cursed him, and he was not alone. From the shadows of the dunes, figures emerged, Vaelian's men. Their captain smirked, stepping forward. "The great warrior who fell from the sky," he mocked. "Our king will want to see you." Seriphus tried to rise, but the pain was unbearable. A boot slammed into his ribs, driving him back down. The captain grinned. "Tie him. The king will want to watch him bleed." The chains of a mortal man. Seriphus awoke in the dungeons of Atlantis, shackled in iron, his body aching from the beatings he had endured. The gods had stripped him of everything, and soon Vaelian would strip him of the rest. The heavy door creaked open. Seriphus lifted his head, expecting more of the king's men. Instead, Althea stepped inside, her cloak wrapped tightly around her, her face pale. Their eyes met, and everything they had been trying to resist crashed back into place. "Gods," she whispered, rushing toward him. "What have they done to you?" He exhaled shakily, drinking her in. She was the only thing that still made sense. She knelt, her fingers tracing his bruised face. "I can get you out of here," she whispered. Seriphus grabbed her wrist, stopping her. "Number if Vaelian catches you." "I don't care." He shook his head. "You should." But Althea was already reaching for the keys hidden in her cloak, her hands trembling as she fit one into the lock. "I will not let them take you from me." His throat tightened. She was risking everything, for him. "Althea." His voice was raw, his hand sliding to her cheek. She leaned into his touch, her lips parting, her breath shallow. And then, before she could free him, the door slammed open. Valian stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. Althea gasped, stepping back. "My king, I—" Valian raised a hand, silencing her. His eyes locked onto Seraphis, and in them, Seraphis saw death. "So," Valian murmured, stepping forward, "it is true." The storm had finally come.